To Judicial Dollars and Cents, brought to you by Anders Virtual CFO Services team from all across the United States. I'm John Scott, and in each episode, we'll shine a light on the financial side of the legal world. We sit down with law firm innovators who are shaping the future of the profession. Let's dive in, right here on Judicial Dollars and Cents. Hey, welcome to today's show. I'm John Scott. I am a VCFO with Anders Virtual CFO Services. I'm joined by my partner, Jody Grundon, who's also a part of Anders Virtual Services, and John Glon, who is a certified growth coach who helps business leaders clarify their vision, align their teams, and execute with discipline using the Bloom Growth Operating System.
You got it.
That was a mouthful. That was a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
Hey, thanks for having me on, fellas.
Hey, it's great to have you. Can you help us understand what you do and what the Bloom Growth Operating System is?
Sure. So I know that, again, because most folks are familiar with, we'll say EOS, right? Entrepreneurial Operating System, or Scaling Up or Pinnacle, right? It's a proven way to run a business. Bloom Growth is an offshoot. I like to call it a little 2.0. And where there is it's growth focused and human element focused. So my base business, I started with EOS with a coach, with an implementer 8+ years ago, and it transformed my life. And, so much so now I do have folks that are running that business. And as I was figuring out what the heck I wanted to do in life, I always thought I wanted to be an implementer, be a coach, because I've had numerous coaches that have changed my life, whether it be personal and business. And I just wanted to affect the world in that way. So, so that's what I've been doing is I got certified. It's been 2 years now that I've been a Bloom Growth coach. And so my role is to work with leadership teams to implement the Bloom Growth Operating System, but also really help facilitate and pull out the best in themselves for each other and then for the rest of their organization.
So I imagine accountability is a big part of this, is holding people accountable. And it's just human nature that everybody wants accountability, except when it comes to them.
Yeah, trust me. I'm not a big fan for myself, right?
John's talking about me 100% right now, just so you know, John.
Jody, I know you're visionary. I know that. We're not good at this part. You're right. We like to use a little different verbiage, though. Because accountability, I think part of it that folks get worked up on is because it makes it feel like if I don't do my job, I get fired. Well, there's truth in that. But if you flip it a little bit, we like to say, help them win, right? So how, instead of, where others might say the role of a manager is to lead, manage, and then hold people accountable. We do like the lead part. We like the manage part because you have numbers right. And we like to say, help win. So how are we helping them win? And that's just another way of saying, you have some measurables and you have some things. How are we making sure you're on track for those? And if we're having issues, what are the obstacles, right? So we just a little bit of different twist on it. I like to liken it to when my wife tells me what to do. It just
that's pretty normal.
Yeah, right. And it's like one of those things. We would get into a little bit of tiff about it in the past. When I stopped and realized, just ask a question, and it's a totally different deal. Don't tell me. It's just it's how inhuman how we operate, right? If someone tells me to go do something, maybe it's the child in me. I stop for a second. I'm like, do I want to go do that or not?
Right? I am just the opposite at home. My wife will say, would you like to do the dishes? And I'm like, no. If you would say to me, do the dishes, well, I'm on it. I have another little trick there where I actually screw it up. You load the dishwasher incorrectly, and then you're not allowed to do it anymore. So.
Hey, this is recorded. You better watch it. I don't know.
Oh, she's fully aware of all my tricks. So when you go into a new group or organization that you're going to help coach, what's the process? How do you diagnose and how do you get to the end point?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I do want to make sure to be clear on is when I'm with a client, right, I tell them I'm a coach. A coach is not a consultant. I'm not coming to you with answers. I come to you with experience. But speaking of not telling people what to do, that works with the leadership team too. If I tell them how to go do something, the likelihood that they're going to go do it is very low. But if I get them to come to the answer themselves, then they're far more likely to go do that. So our process is really going through our the 8 pillars that are functional for a business. And we talk about what it looks like, what should it be, and then we have them rate where they are in relation to that, right? In full transparency and honesty. And we do that with all of the leadership team. It's not just the owner or just the visionary. We want to make sure everyone is hearing the answers. And through that discovery process is where they really self-select and like, wow, we knew there was pain, or we knew we were trying to get somewhere, we just couldn't figure out why or what. That's how we get started. And then, yep, go ahead.
And by pulling it out of them, it's really them coming up with the problem and then them helping formulate the solution.
Absolutely. And my job is to twist and again, because sometimes, and I'm sure you guys have felt some of this a little bit, right? Once there's a little bit of an easy button, most people are exhausted and they're like, okay, let's just go do that. Right. When I see some people just trying to hit the easy button, my job is to twist it a little bit to make sure, are we really, really doing something that's bigger than what you've been doing? And again, I truly think that's the role of a coach, is to really, that's ours, us to push the most out of them, and not just let them take the easy way out. My clients don't love me for that day, but in the end, the results.
Well, and I get that, but I think the best clients or any consultant is one that's coachable, and it's much like when you're coaching kids, right? You have the kid who's coachable. He may not be the best athlete, but he's going to try whatever you say. And we may end up in a different position, but he's not fighting you along the way. And so those are the best relationships. Jody has got to be more coachable, but we're working on that.
You can't. You're not going to be able to coach me up, John. Sorry.
Not
going to happen. Not going to happen. No, I was going to say, John, sounds like really similar to what we do on the financial side with the VCFO practice. We very rarely come with the solution. We try to drag the solution out of them, because the owners know what the issue is. They know what the problem is typically. And by just asking questions and drawing it out, and then mean that confirmation, yeah, it sounds like you're right on path. And then maybe giving a couple alternatives, or maybe giving a couple different insights is really what a VCFO does. I mean, we think of VCFO as a numbers person, somebody that's good at math, which, as I've told John, I can't do math in my head at all, and never could. But with that, it doesn't mean I'm not a great VCFO. Somebody that can just listen and really kind of help guide the ship. And I think that's a big key.
Well, to that end, we've developed a profit model, or profit-focused maturity model assessment, that we, with the client, self-grade their finance function. And they could be rocking it in 2 of the 5 areas, but then have 2 out of 5s in 3 areas. And then we set goals with them and let them plan over the next 3 to 6 months at how to get incrementally better in those areas. So I love your process, John.
Yeah, and I was actually just going to bring that up, because it's very similar, because I've had plenty of experience with fractional, whatever version you want to call fractional CFO, COO, right? Within my own business and with my clients, and I know a few folks in the space. I think that one misconception people probably have is you can't come up with the numbers, right? I have my clients say, "Hey, someone go help me with a forecast. Go put a forecast together for me." You guys can't. You actually need the business to tell you what that forecast is, or what the future holds, right? You're not. That's just I believe that's probably. I don't know if you guys.
It's got to be. It's got to be collaborative. Otherwise, it's going to be garbage.
Yeah. If we create it, it's ours, and then they'll never follow it because it's ours. So they got to have ownership in it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So walk us through a couple examples of common mistakes that in an organization that you hope to correct over time.
I think the simplest one is just how to have meetings, how to have them with purpose, how to be aligned with priorities. Right? I mean, it's the hardest thing to make easy, but it's the easiest thing to make hard too. Right? I mean, it's like actually having them every week at the same time, and having an agenda and being clear on what our priorities are, that we're not coming in and someone like Jody or myself coming in dive bombing a meeting with new ideas. It's we're here to do this, and stay on track with that. I think that's like one of the first and foreign to many people things. They're like, wait, we're going to be spending 90 minutes a week, every week on this. Yeah, but it'll do away with about 4 hours of other stuff that you dive into, right? I think that's one. And, another one is surprisingly enough, you have so many, again, great entrepreneurs that are voracious readers, or, again, they listen to podcasts or they see things online, but they don't execute them. Right. So it's so interesting how many clients I come into and they don't have a plan for the next 90 days, let alone what the next year looks like, let alone 3 years. Right. So most people just head down, grinding, working hard. That's how most businesses get started. And sometimes they can't get themselves out of that. Right. It has gotten them some success, but it caps them out where they are. And so that also simple fact of holy cow, and breaking their mind from worrying about what's next quarter or what's next month, right? Mm-hmm. We've got to put a bigger plan. If you want to grow this, we have to put a bigger plan together. And so that's a major breakthrough where most people, there's an idea that the owner normally has. This is what I want to go do. And they struggle with, figuring out how the heck to get there because it's one big thing. So, if it's a 1-year goal, then how are we breaking it down? Mm-hmm. And every 90 days, every 90 days, every quarter, there's 13 weeks. So then breaking that down, it's elementary, but yet it's also, again, it's one of those things that it's foreign and difficult because most people are jammed with their job and they're doing their work every day. So, stepping out and thinking bigger, it's foreign for all the folks, right?
Yeah. You kind of tripped a nerve for me again, is that I think it happens particularly in law firms, accounting firms, identical, is that the business, the partners want to bill. That's all they know is bill. And they can't get out of the way and realize that maybe that's not the way to grow the firm, is for you to be the biggest biller in the company. Do you see that with law firms? And if you do, how do you help them correct that?
One, that's hard because it's their identity. Mm-hmm. In many cases. They're an attorney and they don't think about being a business. They think about being a, kick-ass attorney. That's what got them here. And just trying to, getting as many cases as they can. Certainly if you're on the injury side of things or whatever. I think that most of the time, if I have someone who doesn't already have a version of a business in place, meaning there's someone that's not an attorney doing the work, right? Whether it's business operations or something, they're not ready yet because it's hard to try to implement a system if you don't have people to help actually do the work. And, what I mean by that is, again, my other company, right? My company is a sales organization. So yeah, we want to go keep selling stuff, right? That totally makes sense. Mm-hmm. Well, someone has to step out of that and run the business. And, I think that those that get that whether it be an attorney, whether it be doctors or any service, right? Consultants. So many of them are really good at having high capacity, right? And billing a lot of hours, but then they're mm-hmm. just capped at and not thinking about the time value, the value of that they can bring to the business, right? They mm-hmm. equate it to whatever their hourly rate is versus if I spend time on the business, it's worth 10x that, right?
Right.
So again, for me personally, for my target, more success is someone's at least agreed that that's a step they're taking and willing to, at least if they don't have it, they're saying we're hiring it, right? Because again, we'll just keep spinning our wheels because a lot of these things that companies that really, really excel is they have special projects every quarter that are going to be bigger and better than, again, just getting clients. We work on things every quarter, projects that are things that will affect the company 6 to 18 months from now. Those are big things that aren't revenue producing right away. They're not a part of someone's job normally. It might fit in their capacity, but it's not just their job. So when you're doing special projects, you either just keep working more hours to get those things done, which is likely, but not as likely for all employees, or you've got to step away from the day-to-day. And, that's how you've got to have that structure of actual business, right? You have to have someone that's a clear vision setter of the business. You have someone who can hear that and then help operationalize and lead the leadership team and knows how processes work and not do them all, but understand where processes help a business. Then you got to have someone who goes and gets business, someone who does the work, and then someone who collects. There's just some simple things in business that you have to have people in charge of, maybe not their sole job, but you have people doing those functions to really even get started moving a business forward, right? Or also you can either grow too fast, it'll be clunky as hell, and it'll be grinding. You'll just churn people, churn clients, or you overemphasize working on clients and you're not getting new business, right? So there's just making sure that we're emphasizing all aspects of the business. I find that is a key miss. Most people, because they certainly from an owner's perspective, right, is they feel this pain, like we're not getting enough clients, and so that's all they want to pour their heart into, and then they forget about all the other stuff that has to happen, right? Just because, like you said, the owners normally know the issue. They just need someone else that's going to help them move it across the line.
I want those owners, especially the skilled people, the doctors, the lawyers, the accountants, to do the work, do what their highest and best use is. And I had a retired law firm partner. We had built out a great KPI dashboard for them to look at. And we kept saying, hey, let's go over these. I don't have time to look at that. Too much work to do. And I'm like, this is your job. I mean, yes, I want you focused on client work, but let's spend a couple hours a month to figure out where we're going. And that's how you're going to grow and manage this business. It's just so you really want to get to the point where you can grow the business and work on it rather than in the business. And that's how you can sustain the organization, the firm for long-term growth.
Yeah. And I think, and for those two, the other side of that is there are great owners who are great attorneys and they love doing it. So if you love doing that, continue to love doing that, and then hire someone that can do the things that you don't want to go do, right? There's that other side. Someone else can do it. You don't have to be the owner to be working on the business, right? Because that's the attorneys that I found that are growing like crazy. It's because they fall in love with the business side, and so they've transitioned to the business owner, right? They start to love that part. But those that still love the law, that doesn't mean you can't surround yourself with people to do those things.
Right. And you have two options. You hire them internally and you commit to that overhead and hope you hired the right team, or you outsource it to a group like ours or our competitors.
Yep.
And you get actually a little bit better value because you're getting a bigger team of people on an as needed basis. You're just buying access. It's like concierge medicine.
Yeah. I think where people fall short, or they maybe overthink it, or they, whatever, like, I need a CFO. And they're expecting, and this is, again, my experience that I've seen, they expect the CFO is the one that's doing all the finances. Okay, you can change, you figure out what definition you're looking for, but a true CFO, what my view, and I hope you guys can echo it, is you're helping with the vision, the strategy, the higher level conversations. You're not bookkeeping. That's not what that's not your value. So that's what I talk to my clients about is, don't dive into hire a CFO. You want to hire full-time at the lowest level possible, right? Yeah. If you're trying to spend your money wisely and get the advisors that you're going to have high value with their time. And that's where I do find a ton of value in what you guys do. Because
the technology today is so advanced. I mean, if you think about going on a family vacation with your grandfather, he pulled out a 10-year-old Atlas the night before, piled everyone in the station wagon, and just reacted to what happened along the way. Oh my God, in Atlanta, there's construction and we're going to be way beyond our forecast here. But now we have, all these data points. And you go on vacation and there's the Waze app that can tell you and anticipate the problems. That's what the data in your finance system is. And you can say, okay, here's where we want to be, and we're not on target for that. So what levers do we need to pull to get back on target? And that's the CFO doing that strategic thing, whether it's in-house or outsourced. That's what you're helping them do and put those procedures into place. We need to leverage, and especially going into AI. Are you seeing organizations that are utilizing AI?
I see people trying to figure out how they can, and I see people that are excited about it, but they don't know what they don't know. And I'm speaking from experience as well, right? In my business, most people when they think AI, they're talking about how do I use ChatGPT. So I have some folks that are like, yeah, I use it all the time. Well, yeah, you're using ChatGPT, but that's just scratching the surface of what
tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
But what we actually can utilize AI for. And so I think that's been the hardest part is people moving forward because they don't know how to, or they're trying to do it. Like I did attempt to have an employee who was interested in it. I said, okay, I'll pay a little extra to come up with some, we did did an audit, asked everyone a lot of questions through the business. What were the pain points? And we came up with the right things to work on, but then we froze. We're like, okay, I don't know what to do with it. Then I brought in actually a AI consultant who happened to be on my podcast, and it just seemed so simple. And they hear the issues, and they have the experience to help bring it to life 10x faster, 10x cheaper than historical. And we're talking like system integration things. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out is how do I get that to people, right? How do we get that level of conversation going within an organization? Because again, it's most of my clients aren't scared of it. They're scared of what the heck to do. They just don't know what's next, and it's changing every day. So, to answer your other question, people that are actually doing it, right? They're finding it they're whether it's be client intake information, whether it be integrating systems together, they are, and/or fact finding is going down into fractions of time because again, just a simple chat GPT, and communication with clients. I have a lot of folks that are using that to enhance their communication because I don't know about most people. I know knuckleheads like me, writing an email is painful, right? I have an articulated message in my head. I can verbalize it, but it's like a word soup. If I could, I'll type like 5 sentences and then I'll go back and put something. So, that's for me is just like help me articulate, vomit what's on my head onto paper. So I do have clients that are doing it. I think we're just scratching the surface.
My experience with law firms is it's generationally skewed. So the older attorneys who are set in their ways, great attorneys, they think it's going to ruin the profession. The younger, less experienced attorneys think it's going to be the greatest thing ever. And I think there's a balance, right? So if you think about how we used to do spreadsheets back in the Stone Age, it was VisiCalc and Lotus 1, 2, 3 and Google. Actually, before that, I'm going to really date myself here. To generate a random number table in high school and college, we used punch cards, right? And the amount of work it took to generate a random number table with a stack of cards that thick was insanely incredible. But the advances have allowed us to do so much more efficiently. We can produce more client work. And so I think that's the real value here. And if you're a law firm billing on an hourly basis, but now you can be so much more efficient, what do? Well, you raise your hourly rate, or you go to a fixed fee and you capture some of that efficiency. Now, the client should expect to get some, and the bigger the client is, the more they're going to expect to get some of that efficiency. But there's enough efficiency to share here.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I think that some of us have scar tissue from trying to integrate a system, right? Whether it be a new CRM or ERP, right? We're talking humans doing software, and you have to, your team, the local team has to actually give information to know what they want. So there's a give and take. There's the delay on both sides, and then you have again the humans. Then you have error, and then you have, and I haven't heard of one like. Certainly SAP, sorry SAP, but I've had plenty of hiccups with that. But with integrations with manufacturers that I've worked with, but for CRM, like again, it was like, what are you talking about? If my team met and we're like, we're not doing another CRM, like it's not what we want, but it is good enough. Coming in with some AI integration and AI software and how they can actually utilize AI in so many different angles to do software integration. It's done in a tenth of a time. And if there's errors, then we can find them fast. And so, because in this quality control, there's all kinds of things around it that it takes away the angst from doing something bigger. Because again, the number comes in, like to your point, we get a firm proposal and it's up to them to make sure that they can be efficient because they think, they can charge what they want by hour. But if they're set up the right way, still high margin, and they still make a ton of money.
Mhm.
Right. So, I'd love to find, and the thing is, on social media, you have so many people saying they're AI, and it's really, really hard to find someone you trust in that game too, because many of us don't know what is true or not.
Right.
And so
for instance, am AI here because I'm not really this good looking, but I've AI'd my.
Man, your AI sucks, John. I'm just going to let you know. You need to improve it.
Hey, John, you've worked with a lot of different business owners, firm owners. What separates a great leader from a good or a poor leader?
This could be a little cliche, but the beginning part of it is self-aware. I think taking it to a whole nother level is not just being self-aware, but actually being actualizing it into action. So self-aware enough that it's infectious for everyone else. And so what I mean by that is they are, again, self-aware, vulnerable, that the level of trust around the team is increased when around them, because they feel like they can say what's on their mind and heart without fear of retribution, say things that are risky to try to propel the company forward. And again, as leaders, as owners, sometimes, that hits hard when someone tells us that, an employee tells you that something's going wrong in their business. You're like, it really isn't. Are you just complaining or what it might be? But if we are good with ourselves, with our knowing what our triggers are, really capturing and understanding the demons that have us show up the way we show up in negative ways, I think that is how we can have genuine leadership. And that's what again, which is odd to some people, that a lot of my sessions, so, we do 8-9 hour sessions. As we're moving it, it's every quarter, but to start with, it's once a month for 4 months, which is intensive. But we spend up to 2 hours on elevating relationships. So it's not about business and sense. It's not just KPIs. It is about how the human element for each other, how we can get past ourselves to help ourselves and to help others. So I think that to me is number one. You can teach other things. You can teach and put process in place for managing and, the version of holding accountable. There are mechanisms you put in place, but if that human isn't innately good with themselves, they're going to reflect poorly on others.
Hey, I want to spend the last few minutes talking about something a little bit that might catch you off guard here. You've coached a lot of different people, a lot of different organizations. If I were going to ask you to coach the Senate and the House, and don't get into politics, how would you approach ending the lockdown and getting back to respectfully disagreeing? What tools would you use in your toolbox for that?
Oh, God, I despise politics. Oh my God.
So do I.
I do. So here's one thing. Again, speaking of self-realization and knowing myself, I normally just run from these conversations. Like, I'm good. We're not going there. But I'll lean in. And
you don't have to talk about the merits of either side. Just how do we get along again?
Yeah, no, it's just a trigger.
And you could make it two different individuals in the same organization that are constantly butting heads. How do you get them to listen to each other?
I think one of the simplest and easiest that in my purview, right, is getting them to understand where the other is coming from. Not just see their point of view, but really, if we stop and think about from a place of love, care, and compassion, right? Most of the time, it's not a hatred that why someone wants to do something. There actually is good in it. Even though you might disagree with it vehemently, there is good in there somewhere. They have a good intention of why they want to do whatever it is, right? It could be self-serving. Many times it is. But at the same time, what we fail at, I think, as a country, as a world, is not really sitting in that seat of that other person. What are they really, really saying? Why are they so passionate about this? Instead of just putting our wall up. Everyone just already has their own opinion and view, and they just put their wall up. It's very hard for most people to just sit in the other person's seat without reacting, right? Mm-hmm. So if we can get people to stop, breathe, and like actually sit in the seat of the other person to see where they're coming from, and then respond and not react, I think you get much further. Now, again, with what we have going on, that's a lot to ask for, because it's, there's hundreds of thousands of different opinions and everything behind each person. But I think that that's truly because that's partially what I do too, is a little bit of, I don't want to say, it's not babysitting, but it is. I deal with a lot of family businesses. So there's a lot of that happens. And so it's not about who deserves what, who gets what. It's, okay, where are they coming from? And sit in that, right? And understand that. You might not come to an agreement, but at minimum, you're going to understand what and why they are, where the position they are. And somewhere there's going to be a middle ground.
I love your point about seeing it from the other person's perspective, because I do think that would bring people together and soften the interactions that occur afterwards. Hey, John, this has been fantastic. And if folks want to get a hold of you, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, John Glon. You see it here. It rhymes. And I'm on Instagram. My email is john.g@bloomgrowthcoach.com. And my podcast is The Roll Call, ROLE. So listen to that. I should be pretty darn available.
Well, thank you for being on the show today. And we'll put all that in the show notes. Thank you for joining us on Judicial Dollars and Cents. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Attaboy, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on Judicial Dollars and Cents, presented by Anders Virtual CFO Services. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcast. To learn more about how Anders helps law firms strengthen their financial foundations and drive growth, visit anderscpa.com. Until next time, keep making smart decisions that make perfect sense.